Hey everybody, wanted to give you a quick update here on the state of StarCraft 2 for the year 2026. EWC has just made a huge announcement listing off 20 titles that are going to be at the Esports World Cup. And they have four, unless this list is more elastic than the post makes it out to be, four titles that are not announced. One of those titles that is not announced is StarCraft 2. I'm not sure what to make of this. I'm remaining optimistic. I'm going to make the case for both sides here in this video. If you remember, this year was kind of a weird year, maybe the weirdest year for StarCraft 2, because although we were at the Esports World Cup, there was GSL, and obviously me and my team have started up the RSL. We had like over 6 months of no StarCraft 2. Nobody knew what was going on. All these games in the Esports World Cup were announced. StarCraft 2 was the last game, and that was by, I think, 2 months. So we had no tournaments. We didn't know what was going on. Luckily, we did end up having a world championship, and I think the game is in a good spot. Blizzard is patching it, by the way, which is a very good sign. Just showing that they're willing to kind of maintain their own game. It seems like they have people staffed on that now. But I'm not going to lie to you. For the actual longevity of the game, we need to be in the Esports World Cup. They pump a lot of money into the game, into prize pools that basically allow the ecosystem to be healthy. You know, in order for StarCraft 2 to do well, you need to have a thriving ecosystem. And that means tournaments, but also enough prize pool that it makes sense for someone to devote years of their life into playing the game. If there's no prize pool, there's no money, that dries up and pro gamers have to go find something else to do. The same is true for tournaments for casters. The casters need enough work so that they can continue to focus fully on the game and invest their time into it. So, I mean, it was pretty bad for the ecosystem when there was that huge delay. And so I want to talk about this a little bit. Excuse me. What is weird about this announcement, as you can see here, by the way, I want to share this meme. Gemini posted this. This was in regard to this post here. I think anybody who was living through this last, or earlier this year actually remembers what a kind of weird time that was for StarCraft 2 with a lot of uncertainty here in the future. So what is weird about this announcement is that we have Overwatch 2 in the lineup. So if we have Overwatch 2, that means Blizzard confirmed that. Why is StarCraft 2 not there? Last year, I had a lot of people coming by my Twitch stream and talking to me about this or tweeting at me. And one of the things I've always found interesting is sometimes the viewers or the fans don't understand who's waiting on who or who has to confirm what. The slowdown last time was Blizzard. Obviously, there's been a massive change in the staff at Blizzard. Basically, everybody that I knew that was there is gone, with the exception of like maybe 2 or 3 people. And even they got moved around to different departments. So they've been filling, after Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard, they've been filling up all these spots. But it seemed like the communication with Blizzard had been pretty bad. And you do need them to sign off let me make that more clear. You do need someone at Blizzard to sign off and give permission to the Esports World Cup to do these events. Also, for each of these games, there's a negotiation about what... who's in charge of what, who's going to pay for what. In some cases, I think the Esports World Cup, the Saudis will pay to use the game. In other cases, it can be the other way around. These are kind of the complexities that involve running any esport is, okay, so one person owns the IP. Do they also want to run the tournaments? Do they want to outsource that? Do they have conditions or terms that have to be met in order for their game to be used? Even like when we do RSL, for the prize pool and the size that we have, there's like certain sponsors I can't get or I'm not allowed to have. There's certain guidelines I have to follow. And then when you get to the scale of something like the Esports World Cup, and in this case, this year, the prize pool was $700,000. I think the year before that, it was $1 million. Both parties have to come to an agreement. I guess what's weird to me is how would they have okayed Overwatch 2 but not StarCraft 2 yet? I don't know if that's because they don't have enough people staffed in that department to okay that, or what. We also saw Tekken, by the way, This was just announced. I think it's October 11th. So today is October 12th. So yesterday they did confirm Tekken, which leaves us 3 spots remaining. I also, in case you're wondering, I did look up what else is missing here. I noticed that Rocket League is not on the list, and obviously StarCraft 2 is not on the list. I wasn't able to figure out what that final game was. It's possible there's some new cell phone game they're going to be announcing. The fact that there are question marks here, but it seems like these 4, even the way this post is written, and 4 are yet to be announced with big eyeballs. I'm going to stay hopeful here, and here's why. By the way, if they already know the game's going to come out and they're doing this, StarCraft 2 is really not in a state to create any more despair about this game. It has really been through the ringer since the collapse of Blizzard Esports. So I think it would help build a lot of confidence for the scene and for the players to get this announcement out as quickly as possible. Here's why I am optimistic. We saw Parting has just now joined Streamer Zone Esports. Parting, of course, long time ago world champion. Was a huge Twitch streamer before Twitch pulled out of Korea. But, one of the greatest RTS players of all time is back in StarCraft 2 and signing with a big team. We see similar announcements across the board with other pro gamers. Here's Hero joining T1. So, why does this matter? It is a rule that if you are going to be one of the teams in the Esports World Cup, and I think a lot of people, when they just follow purely StarCraft 2, they don't really follow this part of the Esports World Cup, but there is a Team Cup aspect, and that is central to what the Esports World Cup is. And that means that each team that competes in the Esports World Cup has to have representation from each game. So you can't just be, a team that's got, a Tekken player and a Counter-Strike team or something like that. Everybody's got to be on one of these teams, which means that if there is going to be an announcement for next year, or an announcement this year for next year, I should say, all the teams have been told they have to start picking up StarCraft 2 pro gamers. So seeing this news, and this was announced, September 25th, so not that long ago, I think we're going to start to see all these players get picked up. And that's why we're seeing these announcements come out at all. It doesn't make a ton of sense for T1 to put Hero on their roster and pay him a salary unless it would be required in order for them to be part of the Esports World Cup. Some of these games are in stronger places than others. It's no lie that, StarCraft 2, while I still think it's an amazing game, it's kind of been through it. I talked about this in other videos, but, the fact that Blizzard was fully supporting the game and then pulled the rug out from under the entire ecosystem. It's a little bit different than StarCraft 1, which kind of was managed by its own entities and bodies out here in Korea. And it's why StarCraft 1 was able to survive. I think we're still in a transitional period here for StarCraft 2. The viewership is good, and the fans have been very supportive, but it's going to be community-driven on a lot of levels outside of the Esports World Cup, like we're seeing with RSL. So the fact that they're announcing these players keeps me optimistic. I'm assuming that Blizzard has been slow to get back to the state that it's supposed to be in. They're hiring a bunch of new people. Microsoft cut out another group of people at Blizzard as they're trying to rearrange it. But Microsoft would not have bought Blizzard unless they thought the IP had potential and they could basically rebuild it back to the company that it was, before about 2019 when everything basically fell apart. So that keeps me optimistic. Again, I'm a little bit weirded out that we don't have the game in the lineup already. But I did want to mention in this video before I close it out, there is something you can do about this. If you're on Twitter, you should tweet at this account and at Blizzard that you want their game in the Esports World Cup. Blizzard has proven that they will respond to feedback online. And I think there's a big issue in our scene, which is like everybody focuses on posting on Team Liquid or they post on Reddit. The people that run these social media accounts do pay attention to them, and they do take that feedback seriously. I know that at the EFG, which is the company that's basically running the Esports World Cup, it's full of a lot of StarCraft people, people that grew up playing StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. They want to do the game. They love the game. You know, this is the only RTS that's in the Esports World Cup. So it's really important for them that they have all sorts of games. Like, they don't want to just have shooters. They don't want to just have isometric MOBAs. They don't want to just have cell phone games. They want strategy games, particularly RTSs. And StarCraft 2, to this day, is still basically, globally, the biggest, the most prominent, the most recognized RTS. Even though it's 15 years old, which is crazy to say. So I would recommend that you tweet at Blizzard, you tweet at EWC, and you let them know you want the game to come, that you love it. They do respond to that feedback. I do feel like occasionally our scene is in a bit of an echo chamber. You know, people just talking to each other on Team Liquid or on Reddit. To be honest, I don't even read or really use those sites anymore. You're going to be better off actually trying to talk directly to the publisher or the tournament organizer and encourage them. We should expect this game to be announced. If it isn't announced, I'll be making I'll be making a video either way, actually, if it's announced or if it's not announced. But yeah, let them know that you love this game, that you want it to be there. I would love to cast it again. Honestly, doing the Esports World Cup has been incredible. There's never been anything quite of this scope in esports. And so, you know, with Blizzard also patching the game, I think that's another good sign. So fingers crossed we're going to see an announcement. If you want to do something to help facilitate that, again, I would tweet at him. I would let him know. And I'll keep you guys posted if this game's announced. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you join me on my Twitch stream. I'll be streaming all this month. It's twitch.tv/TastelessTV. We're doing a horror game marathon, so a bunch of scary games for the Halloween season. And yeah, let me know in the comments, do you think we're going to have StarCraft 2 again? What is the future of StarCraft 2 looking like? Like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in a future video. Bye-bye.